Let's make some money. Number 7. Working only for money. Imagine for a moment that you land a boring but well-paid job. You quickly start stacking some nice cash. As your earnings grow, your friends will think you're absolutely killing it, and your family will probably be pretty proud too. The immediate gratification is undeniable. You can buy the nice watch, eat at the expensive restaurants, and finance the flashy car. However, over time, your earning potential will inevitably start to plateau. You become trapped in the golden handcuffs, unable to leave because you rely on that high salary to fund your expanding lifestyle, yet unable to grow because the job offers no real advancement or new skills. This is path A. Now, imagine a different scenario. You take a challenging but lower-paying job. You might struggle for a couple of years as you improve and adapt. You may even struggle to pay the bills at first. Your friends will probably think you're falling behind, and your family might question the path you've chosen. They might urge you to take this safe route. However, over time, your earning potential will start going through the roof. This is path B. So, what's the fundamental difference between these two examples? Path A prioritizes money early on, whereas Path B prioritizes two key things: skills and equity. Almost every self-made millionaire has followed Path B because it is the most reliable way to build enduring wealth. Think about it this way. When you prioritize learning over earning in the early stages of your career, you are essentially investing in yourself. You are acquiring a unique set of tools that will pay dividends for decades. Whether you take a low-paying apprenticeship to learn a trade, join a demanding startup to understand how to build a business from the ground up, or spend your evenings mastering complex software, you are building a foundation. By learning a wide range of high-income skills, it makes it almost impossible for you to ever be truly broke again, because you become your greatest asset. Think of every job or project as adding a new tool to your mental Swiss Army knife. Number 6. Buying a fake luxury lifestyle. Picture yourself cruising through sun-drenched streets in a bright yellow Lamborghini. You pull up to a swanky restaurant, hand the keys to the valet, and order a $500 filet steak without batting an eyelid. How does imagining that lifestyle make you feel? Pretty successful, right? It feels like you finally made it. Well, here's the harsh truth. Most people you see living this way, especially on social media, are far from financially successful. The majority are making massive monthly payments on cars they can barely afford, taking luxury vacations on high-interest credit cards that they'll spend the next 2 years paying off, and ordering extravagant meals that leave them with a credit card balance they can't handle. These people are living a lie. They are pretending to be rich while actively drowning in debt. It's all smoke and mirrors. In our modern age, it is incredibly easy to fake wealth. It's much easier to impress strangers on the internet than it is to build a massive investment portfolio. Seeing people constantly broadcast these luxury lifestyles might tempt you to start playing the flexing game too. You might start to feel like everyone else is living a better, richer life than you, and you might feel pressured to keep up appearances. However, the statistical reality is far different. Studies consistently show that a significant percentage of people cannot afford a sudden $400 emergency expense without going into debt. Many worry constantly about paying their basic bills, and the majority of households can't afford a new car without taking out a massive loan. The illusion of wealth is everywhere, but actual liquid wealth is rare. Once you have genuinely made your millions, built your passive income streams, and secured your financial future, you can buy whatever you want. That's the entire point of becoming wealthy: freedom of choice. However, in the early days, you cannot live like a king and build an empire at the same time. Every dollar you spend trying to look rich is a dollar that cannot be used to actually make you rich. Instead of buying rapidly depreciating items like flashy cars, designer clothes with massive logos, and dining in overpriced, trendy restaurants, you must obsessively invest in assets. Buy index funds, individual stocks, real estate, or invest in your own business. These assets will increase in value over time and generate passive income. Eventually, the income generated from your assets should be what pays for your luxury lifestyle, not your primary paycheck. Number 5. Trying to do everything yourself. You might be incredibly talented. You might be the hardest worker you know, but no matter how hard you try, how many hours you work, or how little you sleep, you will never be able to outcompete a group of talented people working together towards a common goal. Look at anyone who has achieved massive success in sports, business, or entertainment. If you look closely, you will see they all had help. They had teams, mentors, partners, and networks. Let's take the famous PayPal mafia as an example. When eBay acquired PayPal for $1.5 billion in 2002, the team of brilliant founders and early employees became incredibly wealthy. But they didn't just retire to a beach, they spread across the tech industry, investing in each other's ideas, sharing networks, and launching new companies. Because they worked together and leveraged their collective power, members of that one single group went on to found or lead massive companies like YouTube, Yelp, LinkedIn, Tesla, and SpaceX. But what if you're not aiming to launch the next billion-dollar tech unicorn? What if you just want to build a highly profitable local business or a lucrative side hustle? The principle remains exactly the same. You cannot scale if you are the bottleneck. Many business owners fail to reach their potential because they refuse to delegate. They insist on handling customer service, bookkeeping, marketing, and product fulfillment all by themselves to save money. But by doing $15 an hour tasks, they are preventing themselves from doing the $500 an hour tasks that actually grow the business. If you want to become truly wealthy, you must learn the art of leverage. You must leverage other people's time by hiring employees or freelancers. You must leverage other people's money by raising capital or taking strategic loans. And you must leverage technology by using software and automation to handle repetitive tasks. If you recognize that many older, established businesses are struggling to adapt to modern technology, there is a massive opportunity there. Many profitable traditional businesses have terrible websites, inefficient management systems, and no digital marketing presence. They know they need to modernize, but they don't know how, and they know they can't do it themselves. If you can learn how to use modern business software and automation tools, you can build a highly lucrative business simply by bringing these older companies into the 21st century. Whether you are building your own business from scratch or helping others optimize theirs, the lesson is clear. If you insist on being a one-person show, your income will always be capped by the number of hours in a day.
Number 4. Allowing too many inputs. Do you ever feel like you're being pulled in a million different directions at once? One day you read an article that says you should invest heavily in real estate. The next day, a podcast tells you that building a personal brand is the only way to get rich. Then, a YouTube video insists you need to start day trading crypto immediately. Everyone seems to have a different, urgent opinion on what you should be focusing on. These are your inputs. When you allow too many conflicting inputs into your life, you create hundreds of potential paths you could follow. You could start an e-commerce store, become a consultant, buy a franchise, or learn to code. The sheer volume of these possibilities creates a psychological state known as cognitive overload. Your brain simply cannot process the overwhelming amount of information and contradictory choices. When faced with too many options, the most common human reaction is to freeze. You end up doing nothing, or worse, you try to do a little bit of everything and end up accomplishing nothing of substance. So what is the solution to this modern epidemic of distraction? You must start with your end destination in mind and ruthlessly work backward. You might not know the exact details of your 20-year plan, but you need a clear general direction. Do you want the freedom of a digital nomad lifestyle, or do you want to build a massive physical corporation? Do you want to be an investor or an operator? Once you have a reasonably clear goal, you must actively curate your inputs. Stop listening to people whose advice does not align with your specific destination. Limit the number of opinions you allow into your mind and drastically prioritize quality over quantity. Cut out the general superficial advice from people who haven't actually achieved what you want to achieve. Instead, seek out highly specific, expert advice. Find mentors, read books by proven operators in your field, and consume educational content that directly applies to your chosen path. By doing this, you'll receive valuable, focused guidance that propels you forward rather than noise that distracts you. If you don't aggressively manage your inputs, you will suffer from decision fatigue. You'll find yourself paralyzed by options, unable to take decisive action. People might look at your lack of progress and assume you're lazy, but in reality, your brain is just paralyzed by the chaos of too many inputs. Focus on one path, execute relentlessly, and ignore the rest. Number 3. Being driven by ego. Let's be blunt. Arrogant people rarely build lasting wealth. They might experience brief flashes of success, but their ego inevitably becomes their downfall. Why? Because arrogance blinds you to reality. It blinds you to your own flaws, and it blinds you to the opportunities and lessons that could genuinely change your life. Ego-driven people are often obsessed with the spotlight in the final result. They want the title, the status, and the recognition immediately. This constant focus on the big picture might sound visionary, but it's a dangerous trap. When you're always looking at the top of the mountain, you fail to pay attention to the rocky path right in front of you. You end up overlooking the small, unglamorous spot, absolutely crucial steps that actually lead to success. So an ego-driven person might refuse to take a lower-level job that would teach them a vital industry secret because they feel the position is beneath them. They might refuse to read a foundational business book because they assume they already know the concepts. They might rush to launch a product without testing it because they're entirely convinced of their own genius. When you are governed by ego, you start to believe that you don't need advice from others, especially from people you perceive as less successful or less intelligent than you. You dismiss the wisdom of people who have spent decades walking the path you are just starting on. But here's the absolute truth. Building real wealth requires profound humility. It requires the self-awareness to admit that you don't know everything and the hunger to constantly keep learning. True growth happens when you embrace the fact that you are a beginner in many aspects of life. The more you learn, the more you should realize how vast the ocean of knowledge truly is. This is often called the iceberg principle. What you currently know is just the tiny tip of the iceberg visible above the water. The massive hidden chunk of knowledge underneath the surface is what truly matters, and arrogance convinces you that you're too smart to listen, too good to learn, and too important to do the grunt work. If you want to be rich, you must kill your ego before it kills your future. Number 2, passing the blame. There's an old proverb that says, "The man who blames others has a long way on his journey to go. The man who blames himself is halfway there. The man who blames no one has already arrived." Imagine you have two objects in front of you, a magnifying glass and a mirror. Every single day, when faced with a setback or a failure, you have to choose which one to pick up. If you choose to pick up the magnifying glass, you use it to hyper-focus on other people and external circumstances. You look for the external reason why you failed. This is the path of the victim, and it leads directly to the blame game. It's a completely natural human instinct. When things go wrong, our ego wants to protect itself by passing the blame. It's much easier to blame a bad economy, an unfair boss, a rigged system, or bad luck than it is to admit that you made a mistake or didn't work hard enough. But these small instances of blame are toxic. They don't stay small. Over time, they grow into a deeply ingrained habit, a worldview that convinces you that you have no control over your own life. You start repeating the excuses of the unsuccessful, like "the system is rigged against me," "I wasn't born with the right connections," "the market is too saturated." The more you reach for the magnifying glass, the bigger and more paralyzing your excuses become. However, if you choose to pick up the mirror, you're forced to look directly at yourself. You focus entirely on the things you can actually control: your own thoughts, your own daily habits, your work ethic, and your reactions to adversity. When a business fails, the person holding the mirror asks, "What flaws in my strategy caused this, and how can I fix them next time?" When they get passed over for a promotion, they ask, "What skills do I lack that the other person had?" Taking extreme ownership of your life is terrifying because it means you have no safety net of excuses, but it is incredibly empowering. When you stop blaming the world for your problems, you realize that you possess the power to solve them. To reach your financial destination, you must permanently drop the magnifying glass and pick up the mirror.
Number 1, staying static in your comfort zone. Your comfort zone is a psychological state where things feel familiar, safe, and secure. You know exactly what to expect from your daily routine, your job, and your social circle. It feels like a protective bubble, but if you look closely, that bubble is actually a self-imposed prison. There are no gaps, no ways out, and critically, no room for massive growth. If you are currently residing deep inside your comfort zone, refusing to take risks, you are ensuring that your future will look exactly like your present. Studies show that a massive percentage of people never intentionally push themselves outside of their familiar routines, and many of them live with deep regrets later in life, wondering what they could have achieved if they had just taken a chance. So how do you break out? You have to deliberately and constantly expand the circle. This is incredibly difficult because our brains are biologically wired to seek safety and avoid the unknown. The unknown represents danger, but in the modern world, the unknown represents opportunity. You have to start forcing yourself into unfamiliar territory. If you have always worked standard 9-to-5 jobs, taking the leap to start a side hustle on the weekends will feel wildly uncomfortable. It will require learning new skills, facing the possibility of public failure, and giving up your leisure time. If you decide to scale that side hustle into a full-time business, it will require an even bigger leap. You might have to take out a loan, hire employees, or negotiate complex contracts. Every single one of these actions will push you further out of your comfort zone. You must understand that discomfort is the currency of success. If you are not feeling slightly nervous, slightly out of your depth, or slightly unsure of yourself on a regular basis, you are not growing. You are staying static. The most successful people in the world are those who have become comfortable with being uncomfortable. They constantly seek out new challenges, enter new markets, and test new ideas. They understand that the comfort zone can be expanded infinitely, but you have to actively claim that new space for yourself. If you refuse to push beyond your current boundaries, you will entirely miss out on the immense wealth and possibilities that are waiting just on the other side of your fear. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.